It's not the usual day at the headquarters of the EFCC. Senior journalists and members of the civil society keenly listen to Mr. Ola Olukoyede's engagement. The countenance on the face of the anti-graft boss says it all. The case against the former Kogi governor Yahaya Bello is not a starting point of the media interaction, but it's perhaps one with a huge public interest. The EFCC is not happy with the development on the matter.
A sitting governor, because he knows he's going, move money directly from government to produce the change. Use it to pay the child's school fee in advance. In advance. In dollars, yes. In dollars. $72,000 or thereabout. $720,000, sorry. $720,000 in advance. In anticipating that he was going to leave government house. In a poor state like Kogi. And you want me to close my eyes to that? Under the guise of saying I'm being used. Used by who? At this stage of my life, used by who? By who? For crying out loud. I assumed office here. I didn't initiate the case. I inherited the case file. I called for the case file. I called for the report. And I said, look, there are issues here. Do you know on my own, on my honor, I put a call across to him, which ordinarily I'm not supposed to do. Just to honor him as a governor, as a immediate past governor. Sir, there are issues. I've seen this case file. Can you just come? Let us clarify these issues. He said, sir, I thank you, my brother. I know, but I can't come. There's one lady, I don't know what her name is, maybe a senator, that she learned, she had said, she has surrounded the EFCC with over 100 journalists, to come and embarrass him and intimidate him and all kind of stuff. I said, okay, if that is your fear, I'm going to pass you through my own gate, special man's gate. You will come to my floor. We will accord you that respect. I will invite my operatives. They will come and interrogate you or interview you in my own office. What could be more honorable than that? In my own office. To allay the fear. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You know what he said? But can't they come to my village? That's what he told me. Can't they come to my village to come and say? I told you. He also he sent a message to him. My director of investigation sent a message to him.
And the EFCC chairman appears resolute. He makes some categorical statement.
Some of the people that we thought are crusaders, they are on the payroll of the man. And that's the truth. We are investigating it. We are building a case against everyone involved. Whether you are a governor or not, we are building a case. Let the whole public hear. We are building a case against those who obstructed justice. You are sitting, you have immunity today, you won't have immunity forever. We are not stopping there. It's been watch listed all over the world. It can only run. They said there's no law in this country that we are following. Let's all of us declare that we are in a state of barrier. Everybody go and do what they like. Like I said, I don't mind the outcome of this case, but the right thing must be done. If we don't see this case through, I won't have any moral right to accuse anybody of corruption in Nigeria. I will resign.
Yahaya Bello's case is not the only matter the agency is pursuing at the moment. More revelations emerge on the schemes that threaten the economy.
Suddenly we discovered that there are even people within the system who are doing worse than Binance. Because of the P2P and all of that, it was shocking. Just yesterday, I had calls to freeze over 300 accounts. One of those accounts, we discovered that the guy that traded a volume of over 50 billion in the last 1 year. Nobody knew outside the financial regulation. Over 300 accounts in illicit forex trading that would have led to another crash in the next 1 week if we didn't move yesterday.
What about the uproar on the cross-dresser Bobrisky and recent prosecutions over naira mutilation?
Some people have taken us to cleaners on the issue of spraying money and all of that. It's not the work of EFCC. It's not the responsibility of EFCC. Go and look at our law very well. I'm a lawyer myself. And I did promise I won't do anything outside the rule of law. What do you understand by economic sabotage? What is the meaning of economic crime? My mandate is not only to investigate financial crimes. The mandate goes as far as investigating the economic crime.
Illegal miners are now on the radar of the anti-graft agency. Some seizures, we understand, are already made.
To see what Nigeria loses every day to illegal money, you will weep for this country. As at the last count, how many trucks of mineral resources have we seized? 40, sir. We have over 40. You know what that means? Of lithium and all kinds of expensive natural resources.
Olukoide then responds to questions, first on the investigation on former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika.
That's nothing personal. It's not about this Sirika. It's about the system. It's about our process. It's about national interest. So don't let us single out someone as if EFCC is running after this Sirika. No, please. No, it's a system. If you had asked me, are we investigating issues that have to do with Ministry of Aviation? And I will tell you straight away that yes, we are investigating it.
And then about the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Better Edu, and some of the issues around the ministry's finances.
What we are investigating started during Better Edu. Do you think it started during Alima? Do you think it even started during Sadia? Before that ministry was established, every single kobo that was allocated to that ministry is what we are investigating.
After all said, the EFCC is asking Nigerians for support, as the chairman believes if the commission fails, the nation, according to him, has failed. Shunwa Kimaloye, reporting for Channels Television News.
And that's what we're looking at this morning. That's what we're starting from, the response of the EFCC and all that, the huge revelations made by the EFCC chairman there. But to help us unravel all of this, we have here in the studio Dr. Tunji Abayomi, a human rights activist and a legal practitioner. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Also here is Felix Ubaudu, a former AIG Zone 7. Thank you for joining us. And a lawyer as well. Indeed, we have two lawyers in the studio, so we're going to have clarity, as some will say. Let's start up from the situation. Let's get the two of you to weigh in on this. The EFCC versus Yahaya Bello. I mean, it's been a conversation that's been on for a couple of days. Since the 18th of April, indeed, it's been back and forth and all of that. But let's start. Why do you think the EFCC is so adamant? I mean, you heard the chairman talk about the fact that I am ready to follow this to a conclusive end.
Well, is it really EFCC versus Yahaya Bello?
Or the state?
I think it's EFCC versus corruption.
Okay.
Because I think it's Abraham Lincoln who said, if we're going to make a difference, we cannot walk on a beaten path. We're not going to make it. He said you have to burn and thirst for distinction. Just my colleague, before we came here, he mentioned an issue on which we discussed, that this nation is where it is, low, low, low below, in spite of all the endowment of the Almighty, because of corruption. The single tragedy of this nation is corruption. And why is corruption? Why does it triumph? Why does it prevail? Why does it consume everything? Because there is no control over leadership, particularly those are the helm of authority. We have a situation where individuals are far more powerful than institutions. If we look at developed nations, particularly very serious developed like America, Europe, and so on and so forth, they ensure that they protect institutional integrity. And when an individual tries to corrupt it, that institution fights. And they strengthen members of that institution to ensure the paramountcy of those institutions. So if we have a leader like the present chairman of AFCC that is standing up for something instead of falling for just anything, I think this nation is lucky. We need more of him, and that is the issue confronting this nation.
Mr. Baldu, you agree with him about we needing more of men like the EFCC chairman?
Oh, sure.
But in the face of the former governor of Kogi State, when the EFCC was at his house to arrest him, they were resisted by even policemen. And you being a former policeman, the policemen were assigned to protect him. And so they resisted the EFCC, who were there to enforce. Some have wondered, come on, are we not serving the same state? So that question of institution then comes to play. Did the policemen understand that they had an institution to protect?
Not the policemen at that level. Not the policemen at that level. Those are very junior officers. You see, the point we must come to terms with, the stark reality is that we've never come to terms with the fact that there's equality before the law, irrespective of your position. That is what the law says. Whichever laws we're applying, apply to those up there and those below. Nobody enjoys any immunity. Immunity you enjoy, maybe when you're in the office. His 8 years tenure has expired. He made an allegation against you. It deserves of him to go and report, hear what the allegations are, and make your defense. Or to keep on saying, oh, this, I'm this and that. Some people come to say he cannot be arrested. Why? Nobody's above the law. And if you be following what they've been saying since, he was honorably invited as a VIP. He turned all of that down. If were to be some of the Nigerians down below, just go there, pick him up and take him away. They don't do a letter. He was invited formally, he refused to honor the invitation. And we're in a nation where something like this happens, somebody goes to court to get a court order. 2 courts of the same jurisdiction, and then will go and counter that order again. It's not taking us anywhere. It doesn't happen like that anywhere. In other political climes.
But that speaks volumes about the judiciary, the courts here in Nigeria.
Yes.
Is that something that shouldn't there something?
No, of course, that's part of the problem. Yes. All brings us back to the issue of corruption, compromise, and all of that.
And then, I want to really get your mind, because coming from law enforcement,
yes,
you mentioned something very critical right now, which is that those officers, they're very low-level officers.
Yes, junior officers.
Junior officers. Now, when it comes to these sorts of situations, I think with Nigerians, we are all outraged, right? Listening to the EFCC chairman yesterday, we were all broken down. I kept thinking about what school takes $702,000? $720,000 as fees. You know, I've been racking my brain around the.
Not even in the US.
Around what he said,
yes.
You know, because even I'm thinking, what school takes this?
Yes.
Is it Oxford? What school is taking these kind of fees? In any case, with Nigerians, what I notice over time is that we all are outraged. Give us a week. Give us a week, we're on to something else. Someone has dressed a certain way and we have all moved on to talking about it. How do we get Nigerians to hold on to things that outrage us as a people? How do we get people to hold on to it and insist that the right thing is done? That's the one on the one side. And then on the second side, on the part of law enforcement, why do we have officers on different levels with different mindsets of what nation building should be, of what the right thing to be done should be in a particular situation? Or do they have no choice but to just follow orders? And who gave them the orders that they're following?
You see, that is why the Inspector General of Police had to give an order that they should be withdrawn from him. And they were withdrawn. Because up there he knew the right thing to do. But like I said, regrettably, the police, one of the organizations in this country that does not give that regard for training. That's why I find a good number of them who are down below there are not mentally and professionally competent to handle some of those processes. And because of their conditions of service, these politicians just keep on giving them peanuts, percocets, and all of that. And they just do their bidding. So the orientation is not there. And there was even something I was going to suggest, not directly connected to this. We need to expand our school curriculum from the primary to secondary school up to tertiary level in relation to security, the do's and their don'ts. Because if you don't work on the psyche of these people, nothing will change. Today they're to this side, the other, but put them along the same line, let them remain focused in every situation, this is what must be done. Stand by the law. Stand for the truth. That's why we're where we are today. And like I was saying before we came here, I said, we're in a nation where we defend the indefensible and justify the unjustifiable.
That actually brings to the second part of my question.
For selfish, self-serving reasons.
Yes. How do we change that?
Look, human beings make the difference in the affairs of nations, whether they move nations up or they move nations down. Human beings make a difference. Now you listen to the chairman of EFCC. They will have more of him to stand for the interests of this nation, and they are willing to sacrifice. Nigeria will arise as a nation. You take a simple situation. We wanted democracy. So we have the military that took over everything, oppressing people, using our money the way they were outlaws.
Dictatorship.
So we said, we need democracy, we need freedom. People function best and highest in a state of freedom. So we had to confront them. Are you willing to go to jail? Yes, for me.
How do we confront endemic corruption as a people?
It's the same thing, endemic military rule. How do you confront it? People must rise up, support people who have the courage to stand up for this Nigeria. You strengthen the strength of and the energy and the will of the people. I think it's Thomas Paine who said, for a nation to know freedom, it must will for it. And to know liberty, it must work for it. You have to will for it first and then work for it. The question is, do we have enough people in our nation that have, in simple things, our people must be strong enough to stand up. You are going this way. I was listening to recently a gentleman who was stopping, is it a minister that was taking a one-way? And he said he must go back and take the proper way. In my phase 2, where I live in Lagos, when you are coming out, you have to turn around. If I want to come in, you have to go down before you can come back. But if you want to go, you want to shortcut, you just dash. So I stopped the guy. He was going to go. I blocked him. But I want to tell you the problem of our nation. I blocked him, and I said, you have to go back. He wasn't listening. I said, okay, stay there. You will not pass through this road. I'm telling you. Heaven may fall, you will not. But here is the problem. The people behind me, they start screaming, let him go. Let him pass. Let him. So as long as we don't have enough people who are willing to stand up for what is right, stand up for something, instead of falling for just anything in our nation, beginning with the leaders. Principally, the first thing we have to do is to ensure that we have systems that curtail the appetite of leaders. Because the problem of this nation is the people obviously follow the leaders because they have become even worse than the leaders. First and foremost, we must have systems that control the appetite, illimitable appetite of leaders. How can you are talking of 720 of Yahaya Bello. How about the Accountant General of Federation, who is supposed to protect our money, who took billions, money of the nation is supposed to protect, took billions and put collar on his, pretending to be sick, and then when he got to his room, dropped everything. How about the pension man who took all the money of the pensioners? You go on, people look at it, these are all heads of government and institutions without any control, without any guide, without any direction.
Without, you know, when we hear these things, like I said, the outrage is there. We see all of these things. And of course, we're very embarrassed as a people. But it does feel many times like this outrage is in the media. In fact, that's one of the criticisms against this EFCC chairman. That you go to the media, it's almost a trial by media, so to speak. But when it comes to the actual processes that will lead inevitably to justice being served, we don't see that happening often.
Institutions must be strengthened. That's why America says that our government may be a government of laws and not of men. In our nation, individuals are stronger than institutions. You can never make a nation great when individuals appetites vary. Laws are stable, still and stable. I always say in court that law must be stable, but it cannot remain still. In our nation, individuals are stronger than institutions. That's why a governor thinks he can do anything. You can corrupt, take all the money, and he doesn't have to respond to EFCC because he believes that, oh, I'm a governor, I'm a former governor, and so on and so forth. So until we're strong, and how do you strengthen institutions? People must be strong enough to stand up for what is right within the institutions. I know a friend of mine, Halima, who was working, is it on Shopee or something like that. And it was a situation in which a wife of the president wanted to do some kind of road. The wife of the president of this nation, I won't mention the name of the president, after increasing the budget, took billions of the money, the little that is left, he wanted to take it over, appointed a contractor, and then sent that contractor to the woman. And then the contractor said from the first lady. And the woman said, how about First Nation Nigeria? You're telling me First Lady. How about First Nation Nigeria? Your First Lady has taken all this money. Now you want to take everything that is left. How? People must be strong enough. That woman represents the betterment of Nigeria. If we have more of them, this nation will be a better nation.
Dr. Barami, one of our colleagues, Ayo, is a very strong person and he's been standing by. So, Ayo, let's...
Well, Dr. Barami, that's how they set you up, you know, so don't even mind him. But, you know, let me come to you, Mr. Ugbaudu. You know, it's about law enforcement. And as much as possible, we want to try to de-emphasize force because in some ways there is an image that the idea of force, you know, communicates. Now, we are talking here not just about Mr. Yahaya Bello. One of the things that was revealed by the EFCC chairman is that some top law enforcement officers were part of his detail. We have also mentioned the issue of Mr. Hadi Sirika, who the chairman of the EFCC also, you know, talked about in all of the conversation. And we're talking about a system being strong enough. How do we compel a system to be strong enough when even its law enforcement doesn't seem to get enough support from the system to do the needful? I mean, you've been, you know, in the police system before, so you would know when some people are saying that the police doesn't tend to get enough attention to do the things that it is supposed to do. Talk to us about that one and how vulnerable it is to water down the effect or the efficacy of the policing system in Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much for the question. It is worth noting that we're in a nation where there is so much overwhelming interference. It's not just in the security sector alone, even the judiciary too. When matters go to court, interested parties will be telling the judges what to do and how to do it and when it should be done. That shouldn't be the case. That's why we've always talked about standing for the truth, applying the laws, irrespective of who is concerned. And with the police, for instance, a lot of factors come into play. Some of the officers that are there at the head or whatever position they find themselves, some people were instrumental for planting them in those places. So they're like stooges. You must do what your master tells you to do. And that is part of the problem. You see, the chairman of EFCC has said, if Yahaya Bello did not honor the invitation, do this, that, he was going to resign. How many people can put their jobs on the line in that kind of situation? Very few of them. Rather, they're just looking at what they can be given. No. To do the needful or to do the illegality and all of that. So we must have very strong institutions, put laws, legislations in place to checkmate the misnomers, the misbehaviors they do.
Yeah, perhaps that to also emphasize that, Mr. Ogwaudu, if you don't mind me butting in, perhaps, you know, another emphasis that should be drawn, and this is something that has gone on for quite a while. Mr. Olukoide, in that conversation with the journalists responding to a question, also talked about the fact that in the Humanitarian Affairs, you know, Ministry, for instance, he's not only looking at when the ministry was created, even before the ministry was created, the functions of Humanitarian Affairs has been on for a while. Now, there are those who would say, why has it taken us this long? Mr. Sirika, that is also being investigated now, a lot of noise was made during the time. Look, this thing is not possible. There are certain processes and all of that. But it seemed like maybe, as Dr. Abayomi said, maybe they're just being goaded on by some influences, thinking we can get away with it. But then is there also the issue of the chairman of the former governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yahaya Bello, who Dr. Abayomi also said is probably, I mean, I think you also said it, you know, perhaps some people believe that, look, we are above the law because it's our party that is in power. It goes back to policing for me. It goes back to enforcing the laws. It goes back to ensuring that the system does what is needful. Do you think the law is sometimes too slow to catch up to some people, and consequently a number of other people who see that say, look, you know what, I mean, if it's taking this long, I can also go ahead and do the same? Talk to us about what this is a cycle of justice. Is it too slow? Is it not strong enough to deter criminality in any form or shape?
Thank you very much. It's strong enough, that is the truth. But the application, like I said, the interference is so overwhelming. That is the problem. That is why the process is slow. That's why you see that at times when certain cases are charged to court.
When you say interference, who are the people, or how does this interference come? From where does this interference come?
We'll push this matter up to the Supreme Court. From the High Court, for instance, to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court, all years. Look at the immediate past Minister of Aviation's ordeal presently. It happened during the last regime. Nothing was done. I got to know about all of this, but nothing was done. Yet, rather than the EFCC at that time. And the chairman, the chairman at that time. It's just now that the matter is coming up now. That's why we recommend the current chairman.
Just a second. I mean, the question that I'm asking, if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Mr. Ogwaudu?
Don't be surprised.
Can you hear me, sir?
Don't be surprised that.
Just 1 second.
Surprised that at the
can you hear me?
I can hear
there
you,
might
but
be.
I'm not sure he can. It looks like he can.
All right,
well, no, okay. I don't know if you can hear me. We'll come back to you, Dr. Abayomi, in just 1 second. The question that I'm trying to ask Mr. Ogwaudu is, and I think Dr. Abayomi has said the same thing, that influences usually come from some other places, some call, some influences and all. Where do these interferences come from? You'll answer that question, sir, when we return from this break. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Well, let me take this to Dr. Abayomi right there in our Abuja studio. Well, you've heard Mr. Ogwaudu talk about the fact that sometimes interferences come from above law enforcement authorities. And one way or the other, there are those who would say that that would weaken the morale and, you know, the whole process of law enforcement. Do you agree with him? Where do these influences come from? And how do we mitigate it? Otherwise, what you said about strengthening institutions is going to continue to be a mirage.
Well, I have a different view interference is effective if we succumb to it as a participant in governance. I think a leader must be strong enough to stand up for what is right, what is proper, what is appropriate, and what is lawful. If you go to the police, and the police is supposed to do his job, and he doesn't succumb to interference, it's not a problem. That's precisely what the chairman of EFCC is talking about. I'm not going to succumb to any influence, and I will do my job according to law. The problem of our nation is impunity, and that is what we were talking about earlier on. A belief that you can do anything and get away with it without any consequences. If you look at America today, I mean, is it even conceivable that a president can be subjected to criminal process? President of America. It's very simple. Why is he subjected to criminal process? Because in America, everybody is subject to the rule of law. An ordinary person will ensure that you cannot intimidate me. We are subjected to the same law. So when we're talking of interference, there will be interference everywhere in the world. In America, they attempt to influence things. President of America attempted to influence situation, election, but he wasn't able to do it because the institutions and the persons resisted. The point is that we need to build stature in our, in our people to stand up for what is right. Okay,
Dr. Abarami and Mr. Baudu, yes. We have barely 3.5 minutes, yes. And I have 2 questions I need the 2 of you to weigh in on real quick. Yes. 2 of you weigh in on this within the 3.5 minutes so that we can go. One is that the EFCC so far has about 21 cases against different governors, ex-governors. They've not succeeded in convicting about 3 of those governors. That makes it 24. So 21 cases of governors are still outstanding. And then the plethora of other cases that are, I mean, he talked about the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and all of that. Can the EFCC, with this chairman, follow through till the end? Yahaya Bello being the 21st case. Now, that's on one side. Then I want the 2 of you to weigh in on this matter of state police, the way we're going about it. How is it going to work out? So I'll start with you, Dr. Abayami.
Well, I believe with determined mind and vision and commitment to this nation and the determination to stand up for something, he will follow through. I mean, I'm very impressed with him. He represents us. We that stand up, that this nation must have a new lease of life. I believe he will follow through. In terms of state police, well, I mean, it makes sense. If we are doing this same thing and we're not making any progress in this nation, let's try something else. There's nothing wrong with that. If we are working frontally and you are not making a difference, maybe you turn and walk backwards. Maybe achieve what you want to achieve. So let's try something new, something different, something maybe special. That's my view.
Mr. Baudu.
Yes, thank you very much. The issue of those cases involving ex-governors, the figure you saw 20, how many?
20. About 20.
Very good. That's a confirmation of the issue of interference we're talking about. These people were in office for how many years ago? Yet the trials have not even come to conclusion. A minimum is still coming up. Interference. If it was in APC, and APC is in government, then they have to do something about it. If it was in PDP and APC in government, then you fast track that trial. And these are the interferences we are talking about. Slowing the process. Slowing the process. Not allowing the courts to do what they ought to do in line with provisions of the law. That's for that. Then state police. In all honesty, I'm in support of state police. But these are my fears. 1, can the states fund state police? Because state policing is capital intensive. You need to equip them. You need to motivate them. You need to put a lot of structures on ground. We don't want to start building police stations. Their armories are not fortified. these criminals keep on springing surprises, breaking the place and cutting with the arms. No, no, no. State policing is very good because state policing means using the indigents of a state to provide security for that state. Because one, they know the terrain, they know the culture, they understand the language. And if anything happens, be rest assured, they'll get to the root cause of such things. Not bringing somebody from Sokoto to go and provide security in Bayelsa State doesn't work. And so at the end of the day, ended up having square pegs round holes. If you go to some of these francophone countries that border Nigeria, if a stranger gets to any community, in less than 10, 15 minutes, the local chiefs will be informed. And they go and pick the guy up.
All right.
So, what are you here for? What brought you here? Whom are you here to see? So that's it.
All right.
These are
I'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Felix Ugbaudu, who is a former AIG in Zone 7 and also a lawyer, and Dr. Tunji Abayami, human rights activist and a legal practitioner as well.
We give our support and our appreciation to the chairman of EFCC.
Indeed. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
I hope they were allowing him to succeed.
We hope we won't have any interference.